edition of Did You Know Doctor Who, what you may not know about Doctor Who. This time we're going to have a look at a fantastic what-if story, one of the best from the New Who era, and arguably part one of a three-part story, an epic three-part story, Turn Left. I hope you enjoy. The time beetle on Donna's back is based on the 8 legs from the Planet of the Spiders, namely the scene where one is on Sarah Jane's back. In fact, it's a complete replica of it. The reason for making a Dr. Light episode was in part to reduce costs, as David Tennant cost production a lot. Russell T Davies based the story of What If the Doctor Wasn't Around on the 1998 film Sliding Doors. Writing for the story started on the 27th of October 2007, and because of delays it meant Davies had to miss out on the National Television Awards in order to finish the script. Technically this is a part 1 of a 3-part story connecting to the Stolen Earth and Journey's End, but similar to Face, The Raven, Heaven Sent and Hell Bent, it is considered its own episode. Billie Piper admitted that she had forgotten how to play Rose and needed to watch past episodes to remind herself. Due to limited screen time, David Tennant filmed all his scenes in one day. Russell T Davies wanted the TARDIS to be on fire, but the budget didn't allow for the effect. Catherine Tate was sick with flu during production. Chip Ho-chung, the fortune teller, previously played Chantho in Utopia. When examining the time beetle, the Doctor states that it's something to do with the Tricksters Brigade. The Trickster is a recurring nemesis in the Sarah Jane's adventures. David Tennant did not actually play the Doctor's corpse on the stretcher. Russell T Davies dropped a subplot involving Donna getting married and having children. This was originally intended to add even more drama to Donna's decision to sacrifice herself and unravel the parallel timeline. Not only would she be giving up her own life, but her offspring would be erased from history. However, Davies had now become aware that Stephen Moffat had similar plans for Silence of the Library and Forest of the Dead. Whilst Rose has appeared several times this series, this is her first major role as a proper character since Doomsday. Unusually, the episodes featuring Billie Piper were filmed relatively early in production of the season, which allowed a clip from Rose from this episode to be included in the cinema trailer released in advance of the season being broadcast. The story being placed next to Midnight was done on purpose, as Midnight was a companion light story, and this is a story that is Dr. Light. The bees are disappearing is quoted again in this episode, this time by Donna's mother, Sylvia Noble. This is a real-world phenomenon called colony collapse disorder, the incidence which sharply increased in late 2006, and the cause has not been identified. In the Stolen Earth and Journey's End, the cause of disappearance is later revealed. A recurring theme in previous episodes hinted that Donna would die in the future, which occurs in this episode. However, this was an alternative reality Doctor who sacrificed herself in order to prevent her past self from taking the wrong turn, thus forcing her to meet the Doctor as was planned. Donna is told she can have her fortune told for free because she has red hair. This is a reference to Chinese culture, since red is considered very lucky in China. It is also a common carny trick to draw people into the attraction. Half off for the lovely ladies, men wearing hats, anything that matches some characteristic of the person being appealing to. This is the third Doctor and Donna story to feature a giant insect of sorts. This is actually not the first What If Doctor Who story, as there was an 8th Doctor story called Unnatural History, which had a very similar premise. Russell T Davies considered exploring how stories set in the past or on other planets would be affected, such as having units and time commanders, the year 1599, to follow the plot of the Canorites in the Shakespeare Code. Ultimately, however, he decided that this would cause an already very self-referential episode to become unnecessarily obsessed with miniature, and Davies was very concerned about the ability of casual viewers to immerse themselves in the storyline. And that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Turn Left is a fantastic story. I must admit, I'm a sucker when it comes to the what if or alternate universe or alternate history sort of stories in any sort of media. I think the idea is such an interesting concept. You have these millions of possibilities of what could happen if a certain thing could change, or if what could happen if fate were to change in some ways. I love those sort of stories. I love stories about fate and destiny and all that, and this story does a fantastic job in my opinion. Now, I have heard some criticism in the past and even now that this story does sort of go with the whole, treating the Doctor as some sort of god, and that he is unstoppable in every way, and him dying means everything collapses. And I get that, but at the same time, if this was a classics era sort of story or serial, I bet you it would have been sort of the same thing. And I think it does bring up a lot of interesting and brilliant moments. I love seeing all these events transpire, which of course have been weren't prevented by the Doctor. Although at the same time, I do think there is slightly a bit of a plot hole involving the Master in particular. I don't know about you, but the Ragnar ship gets shot down by the orders of Howard Saxon. Well, why wasn't the Master involved? But then I think to myself, well, actually no. If you really think about it, the Doctor wouldn't have gone to the end of the universe and got the Master. So actually, no, that isn't really much of a plot hole. But at the same time, it does create a bit of a confused situation. But I digress. This is still a fantastic story. Everything about it is great. And I like the fact that this is a Doctor Light story. I like that we're exploring a companion. We're seeing things from the perspective of a woman who, in this case, has not met the Doctor, but is hearing all these stories of what she did with the Doctor. I'm totally looking forward to seeing Catherine Tate as Donna again. I think that'll be great. Of course, these specials haven't been released yet, but it's just a really good story, and I love the ending. I love the ending that it builds up into the next story, which of course is the Stolen Earth and Journey's End, which are a fantastic trilogy, I guess you could say, this and the next two stories. Placing it right next to Midnight, which was a companion light story, was also quite a clever idea. You have one story which is just with the Doctor on his own, one story with the companion. You explore these characters effectively. Overall, Turn Left is a fantastic story, certainly one of the best in the modern Doctor Who, and it's part one of 3 parts, which are probably some of the best stories in modern Doctor Who. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Did You Know Doctor Who, and I'll see you next time.